4, 3, 2, 1.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point you realize you married into crazy. And that's what our show is all about. If your marriage or relationship is compassionate, real, accountable, zealous and yielding, or just plain crazy, Snooks and Lovey offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as they unpack this thing called marriage. Sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
The Married and the Crazy podcast, episode number 137 with Snooks and Lovey. I'm Snooks.
And I'm Lovey. And as you know, what we like to do over time is reach out to just interesting couples, people that are out there living their lives, just really lifting their marital vows to that next level. And we always try and find somebody that's unique, different, that can bring you just a different flavor altogether. And today we want to bring you a couple that I've been listening to via podcast for quite some time. But we've been able to connect via Instagram. And I thought, well, you know what? I was being a little selfish. I think I should actually share you guys with the rest of the world. And so if you haven't heard about O.L. and Sway, if those names don't jump out to you, they will by the end of this podcast. And just a quick background, just letting you know that O.L., the gentleman that you're about to hear, is a former internationally award-winning banker. Now, he's also an entrepreneur, but he's a co-founder of a couple of different businesses, but more importantly, he and his wife are in business together. And they've been married, 11 years?
Yes.
11 years. And Sway, the wife, she is the CEO of a creative arts staffing firm. So she's going to have a lot of business acumen as well. But the thing is, even though we're talking about the different businesses that they're in, they're married. That's the most important partnership. And that's why they're on our show today. So, O.L. and Sway, how are you doing?
We are wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All is well. We're glad to be here. Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Well, thank you for blessing us, because I know that in the past, some of the work that you've done, you've been in Huffington Post, what is it, Southern Dallas Business and Living Magazine, CBS, BET. I mean, the list goes on. So I'm just happy you found time on a Saturday to spend with Married into Crazy in our audience.
Absolutely. It is our honor.
Yeah, it's an extreme honor to be here. We're glad to talk about whatever you guys are going to stir up for us.
Okay, so you just open up the gate, so it's on now.
Okay, so I always want to know, like, the history. So how did you guys meet? What was the connection? Was it love at first sight? Was it, get away from me? Or how did the love? Tell me all that.
Oh,
well,
yes.
You know, there's always two sides to this kind of a story. There's her version, and then there's the truth. So I'm teasing.
He's starting off on the wrong foot already. We're not even 5 minutes good into the interview. We're not even 5 minutes good into this.
In all seriousness, the short, long short is I was a janitor. And I was a janitor actually at a church, and she was up there having a meeting with someone, and I had just mopped the floor to the youth facility, and she walked right across my newly mopped floor, totally, overlooking the sign, or should I say not considering the sign that says, caution, wet floor.
I did take caution.
And so, but for those of you who don't know how the mopping game works, you back your way to the front door, or excuse me, you start at the front door and you back your way to the back, because when you come back, you want it to be dry. So basically, she just disregarded that.
No, I saw it. I regarded it.
And
I just took caution.
and she said to me, she asked for where was the youth pastor from that particular day. And I said, oh, he's right upstairs. And when I saw her, something did go off. I don't know what that was. It was something intangible, but something did go off. I was like, whoa. And this was on a Monday, and church parking lots on Monday are like ghost towns. And so I knew that whoever car there was, because I knew my vehicle and I knew the youth pastor's vehicle. And I said, whoever car that is in the parking lot,
Stalker
it's
mode.
gotta be hers. And that's when I laid eyes on her red Toyota Tercel.
Stalker mode.
With California plates. So all I had to do was look for that car again. Now she says stalker.
I say stalker.
But if I were in law enforcement, they would call it gathering intel.
But you're not in law enforcement.
Hey man, I like that.
Yeah, so I vaguely remember someone being there. I was just very focused going into this meeting. I didn't want to be late, and I had to go up these stairs. And so in order to get up the stairs, I had to walk on the floor. So I just took caution and walked up the floor. But that's all I remember from that. I vaguely remember seeing someone there mopping the floor, but I wasn't paying any attention like that at all. So I think it was about a year goes by, and within that year we had our first introduction. He came and knocked on my window of my car one night. It was dark. There were no lights in the parking lot. I was alone.
I've been looking after her for so long. She has no idea.
In the empty church parking lot, I'm going out. It's a pretty large parking lot. So they didn't have lights up yet. And I'm going back to my college campus. I was like a 19-year-old kid. And, I hear this knocking on my window. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like who's knocking on my window? I don't really know anybody out here.
If I may pause you, she cracked the window.
Well, let me tell my story.
I just don't want you to
I shouldn't have even cracked it at all. I shouldn't have cracked it at all. Let me tell my no. Let me tell my story. That wasn't rude. Right. That was actually very courteous for me to even give you any type of inch of window, right? You're not entitled. You weren't entitled to that. And so when he came knocking on the window.
Is this going a different direction than what you guys had hoped?
No, I love it. Keep it going. She's carrying over that cautiousness from walking on the floor to cautiousness cracking the window.
Same person here. I just take it as all aspects, right, of life. So I hear this knock on the window. Think about it. 19-year-old girl, college kid, trying to go back to school. I don't know. I'm in this new territory. I don't know anybody in Texas. So who will be knocking on my window? And it's late at night, and I'm leaving the church parking lot, and I see a knock, and I look up, and it's a man. What would you think? What would you want your daughter to do? Come on. What would you want your daughter to do?
I would have called 911. I'm just saying.
That would have been right. I gave you lots and lots of grace, right? Lots and lots of grace.
I think you thoroughly made your case.
No, as long as you understand, I made it, and you're on the same page. So now, when he stood there, and I looked at him through the window. I'm like, yes, right. And of course, I couldn't hear him. And he stood back a little bit from the car because I think he felt that I felt threatened, and I did, because I'm like, I don't even know who you are. So he stood back from the car a bit, and then I did roll it down just so I could hear him. Like, what is it? What, like, is something wrong with my tire? Like, what, just tell me, you can just tell me right through that little space. And he's like, oh, hi, and he introduces himself, tells me his name. And I was like, hi, okay, what is it? What do you want? And so.
I thought you said at that point you were disarmed.
No. After you started telling me about, oh, I see that you are from California, because I have my California. Oh, by this time I had a new car. So I wasn't in my old car. That's important to know. So I had a new car, and he said, I see that you're from California. My new car, though, it had my Texas license plates. So I was thinking, like, do I know you from California? Like, I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, and I see that you are, so I had a sticker, my college sticker on my old car, not the new one yet. And he said, oh, I see you go to TCU. And I'm like, okay, yes. And he's like, and you used to drive a red Toyota. Didn't you drive a red Toyota? And I said, okay, you need to, come on. Like, and so by this point, I'm like, you're weirding me out right now. I don't even know what's going on.
In every other aspect of my life, information is impressive. Except
like
for
that.
this one.
Not like that at all. And so I'm like, okay, this this, I don't even know where you're getting all this intel, he calls it, from. And so he said, oh, no, I saw your car. And he explained to me, and I was like, okay. So I'm like taking it in. All right. And he's like, yes, I was just wondering if, oh no, then he said he tried to shake my hand, like do an official, like through the window.
The two knuckles I can get through the crack of the
like
window.
two little fingers through.
Putting the pinky through the.
Yeah. And so we shook hands like kind of like this. And so with our fingers, just our fingertips touching. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. And so that's when he proceeded to ask me for my number. And so he didn't get it right then. So a year goes by, and I said, we'll see each other. We go to church. I'm sure we'll see each other around, and we'll just, we'll see how I feel. And the second time we met a couple months later, he walked me to my car. No. He saw me at an event at the church. And then
it was.
And he was like
at the convention center downtown.
No, that was the third time. The third time was a convention center downtown. And I was like, okay, that's when you walk into my car, and that's when I get my number. So about a good year goes by just to like get to know so I was comfortable with saying, okay, here's my number. So from there, I think it moved along pretty swiftly. Of course, like a lot of ups and downs, but it wasn't like until 10 years later that we got married.
So we've known each other for like 20 years.
Wow. Okay. So the timeline from, let's call it stalker level 1.
Stalker level 1.
Okay.
That first year, stalker level 1.
So from the incident of mopping to when you said, yes, we'll go out on an official date, what was that timeline?
Oh
man.
It was over a year.
Would you consider the night that my car got
No, that wasn't official. He said official date.
Well, I was going to ask you.
No, that wasn't official because you didn't ask me to take me out somewhere. I had to take you somewhere. No, that wasn't official date.
I locked my car. Well, we talked so long, my car got locked in the convention center. She had to give me a ride home, which was like an hour and some change.
And we went to Denny's late at night. That wasn't an official date.
And we had pancakes till it was blue outside.
We're not going to count that because it wasn't like, can I take you out tonight? It wasn't like that.
Okay, all right.
But after that is when the official, because then you said, okay, and then I guess you asked me out to take me out, whatever. And I guess that was a little over a year, maybe a year and a few months or something.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so it took a little time for it to germinate, for that seed that was planted to actually grow a little bit. Now you said you're from what part of California you're from, Sway?
I grew up in Pasadena and Los Angeles.
Hence the cautiousness. I get it. Okay, that's good. Well, so from that period, when you guys you had that date, and then you said it was about 10 years later that you got married.
Yep.
Yes.
Attended
the same church for those 10 years, interacting?
No, I moved away. It was long distance. I moved back to New York. I'm originally from Brooklyn. I was born in Brooklyn. So my background is in dance. And so I wanted to go, and I started my second business in college. And then I wanted to be able to run that from my laptop. And I was like, what if I can run it from like my laptop and I can just go, dance, do different, jobs, maybe like do off Broadway television, all that stuff. And still have my business generating income. And so I started doing that about 5 years before we got married. It was about 5-6 years, long distance. But I would come back to Texas every about 6 weeks or so because I still had my business, my staffing firm that was based in Dallas. And so he was still in Dallas. So I just went on to do what I was going to do. And when he proposed, I ended up coming back to Dallas about 2 weeks before the wedding. So just wrapping up a lot of things on the East Coast and came back here. So it's been a lot of ebbs and flows.
But isn't that the truth when it comes to marriage?
Yes.
I'm telling you.
Lots of ebbs and flows. So it sounds like you have quite a bit of experience, both of you, when it comes to business, because you had talked about both of you in different accounts. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious that how did you maintain that long distance? I know you said you came back every 6 weeks or so, but how was that maintaining the long distance connection?
We already had like several years of good friendship, solid, friendship. It didn't start off long distance.
And we had at that point overcome some bumps in the relationship that gave us the added endurance for the time of physical distance. So it wasn't easy, but we had some pretty well conditioning in our relationship prior to that just helped us even the more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we also were very intentional about
Oh, yeah,
growing
we
the
were very
relationship. So we would
deliberate.
like read books together on communication, on money management.
Personal finance.
Yeah, and talk about it. Like, okay, what do you think about this? And what do you think about
We would
that?
talk
Like,
about anger, how you process it, what's healthy, what's not
talk
healthy.
about expectations.
Expectations.
And we also were in counseling too. So we had, like, whenever I would fly back, we had our counseling sessions together. And then on our own, we would read our own books just so we were growing and like growing together and not growing apart. So we had to be very intentional.
And this just dawned on me, and I'll add this component too. At this point, both our security systems, community around us, were at a level of investment that they wanted to see us win.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the most part, that they wanted to see us win. So when you had those moments where you needed, you know, someone who knew the two of you to say, hey, I'm feeling this, I'm thinking this, they were able to help us really think through some things with clarity that we might not have had on our own, being the two people who were in it. Does that make sense?
That's good. Yeah. Because that support is, like you said, you can always look in, I'm in it, so I can't see all around, but someone else, especially someone who's vested in you, and they can say, okay, let's take a time out. Let's regroup. Let's, why are you feeling this way? Why are you feeling that way? That's so important. And I think that that's one thing we talk about with like Iron Tribe. People don't realize that having a support system is really important, because we're in a marriage and I don't want to have to go to someone who's either in a bad relationship or that's not married and talk to them, because they're going to give me advice based on their experiences. Girl, you need to just leave him so we can be miserable together. You know what I'm saying? So that's good to have that support. That's great.
Well, it always goes back to Proverbs, right? As iron sharpens iron. Well, we always say as iron sharpens iron, we as couples should be sharpening each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For my support system, if we broke up permanently, my support system was not going to let it come easy. They were like, oh, you my man, and all of that. But let me tell you, you ain't treating her right, Doc. You're not thinking about this right. And now they're my people,
right?
But they care for her like that, so I think in both cases, for the most part, our support systems weren't going to allow us to just write each other off frivolously, needlessly. So
that's great. So I have a question. So how did you, how was MarriedPreneur life? How was that birthed? What was the idea behind it?
Wait. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to preemptively strike. Before you go there, I think you should tell us what MarriedPreneur life is.
Okay, I'll allow.
I'm like, I'm in court.
I know. I'll allow.
Objection overruled.
Amen. Welcome to my life.
Oh boy.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I'll let my wife fill in where I fall short here. MarriedPreneur Life is really a company where we help married entrepreneurs to launch, grow, and scale their businesses, to do it powerfully, to do it purposefully and profitably, but not at the expense of the marriage itself.
Right. So in short, like I would say our sweet spot and our superpowers are helping these married entrepreneurs sync high-level systems with laser clear strategy. So they can build out that vision that they have in a way that is, like you said, purposeful, profitable, powerful, in a nutshell.
Well, I love that. Well, I'm going to dig in a little bit because I'd like to know how you went from what was the catalyst or the impetus that took you. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been overruled again. Go ahead.
So, they told what it was. Now you're not letting them say how was it birthed? What gave the idea? And then you can go in yours. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm loving this. This is hilarious. So let me give you this piece. So my transitioning into entrepreneurship was very different than Sway's. As she said, she had been building her businesses really since 16. She had been sharpening that blade if you will, since she was 16. Me, I was thrusted into entrepreneurship. I didn't have the proverbial Steve Harvey story of take the leap or jump. No, I was pushed off the cliff, and I was like, parachute, parachute. So I was let go from the last bank that actually recruited me. And I was there because they recruited me by the actual state president. And Texas being an at-will state, the first 90 days, they can let you go pretty much without any explanation for the most part. And that's what happened on my 90th day. And without going into the whole story behind that, it happened early in the day. And the person I worked for, who both of us were hired by the person who hired both of us, because my boss didn't hire me. My boss's boss hired me before he hired my boss. And then told my boss, when he originally interviewed me, he was interviewing me for his position. So anyway, don't say that. So at that point, I had a target on my back, and it was handled on the 90th day. And I went to the car, called my wife, and I said, you will not believe what just happened. Back up a few years prior. We really sensed that God was leading me to really step away from banking. But every time I would do this, see, sweetheart, I didn't forget. And every time we would do this,
he always did that.
I would always get promoted. And so the temptation was, oh, I'll just take this other promotion. Oh, I'll just do this. I'll just do that. And, with, mortgage every 30 days. Did you know it come every 30 days? Every 30 days, I was like, this is great. This is security. So I would always have this sort of upward trajectory that would swoon me from not taking the leap, if you will. So one day, a few years out, my wife takes out the camera phone
after another promotion.
After another promotion, and she was like, basically, I'm gonna get this document. I'm gonna get this in stone, if you will.
Because you keep saying you're gonna.
And I kept saying, yeah, I'm gonna leave. This is the last promotion, or this is the last bank, and so forth. And she recorded the video of me saying this. And now, fast forward.
90 days after that.
Yeah, 90 days after that, proof. I get let go, and now I'm out here. And so the struggle to figure out, okay, who am I now? Because so much of what I am was wrapped up in what I did. And my wife really, really helped me to step into that entrepreneurial space. But I just did what was natural to me. I already was working with families, helping them invest their assets, grow their assets. And I just basically took that same thing I did all those years prior in banking and started doing that in working with clients on a personal level, helping them to grow their assets. I was also helping organizations with commercial real estate and debt restructuring and so forth, that my wife, as I was working with these couples, I started bringing in couples, and they knew what Sway did. So they would say to me, hey, I would be working with what?
I was gonna say there's something that happened before that though. Because while he was going through his go-through with his whole identity transition, I'll call that, I wanted to make sure that whatever was going on between the 1st and the 15th, that he understood that the 1st and the 15th don't mean anything in entrepreneurship world. Like, you have to go catch the fish, and if it's whatever day of the month that it is, that's the day of the month that it is. If it's not on the 1st or the 15th, it's not going to come in on the 1st and the 15th. And so I think that took a minute for him to realize, like, oh, wow, like there's no, and so, I'm like, okay.
It's a reconditioning.
So meanwhile, life is still going on. And so I decided to take on some additional clients that I knew was going to stretch me some, just my capacity. But I'm like, well, I just need to make sure everything keeps flowing well. And while he's trying to figure out, like, what is life? And then I didn't want to feel like whenever I would ask him, okay, what are you doing? What's going on? What are you doing? Because I understood, it's going to be action. It requires action to beget traction, right? So if I'm like, if you're not doing something on a daily basis, you're not going to get anything on a daily basis. So what exactly are you doing? And so I didn't want to start I felt like I was doing this. So I changed something. I felt like I was becoming this nagging wife. And so I said, well, I need some wisdom on how to do this in a way that he can feel encouraged, he can feel supported, and he can have some fire put under him. So I suggested that we do something called, now what we call them today, put our systems in place, which is, we call them legacy meetings. So they're our daily meetings where we come in and go over what we're doing for that day. Well, not really go over, but it's really like the top 3. We have a whole system for it. But that beginning, that was the beginning of the legacy meetings. And what that did was it showed him like what I was doing, and then it also let him have an opportunity to show me what he was doing. So on a daily basis, it was more like accountability. I just didn't call it that because I didn't want him to feel like
it was encouragement and tracking for me. It was accountability and a sense of awareness and security for her.
So we started implementing these systems, and it really helped our marriage. So that strain that was there before, it really helped us communicate better. I could see what he was doing, then I could like make suggestions. Well, have you thought about this? Or let me reach out to this person. I can connect you, but otherwise those conversations weren't happening, right? So there were a lot of opportunities being missed because we were both doing our own thing and not realizing that we need to really work together, even in separate businesses. So a lot of our clients, as he started building his consultancy, and I have a consultancy as well as a staffing. So a lot of my clients, this is the next part, and a lot of his clients started to observe, unbeknownst to us, these systems that we were putting in place, or they just saw what we were doing, and I thought it was just going to be for us. Like, I'm just creating this for us. This is not to teach anybody anything. I just know what our marriage needs. But these other couples started seeing like, well, how do you do this? And then, well, can you work? Can you two, you and your spouse work with me and my spouse and like teach us? I'm like, what do you want us to teach you? Like,
my clients who I was working with on the financial end wanted to work with Sway for the business and the growing of their businesses, should I say. And then some of her clients were like, hey, while my husband and I are growing this business, can we work with your husband for the financial piece? How do we allocate these revenues? And then,
the first couple came was just for systems.
The first couple was for systems. But I specifically remember my clients asking me for the business side of or growing the business and understanding how to do that. And I said, listen, when our session ends, I'll gladly refer you over to my wife. And so it was happening that way, but we had separate LLCs, we had separate businesses, we had separate ways, we had separate business models. So to do this was in essence how MarriedPreneur Life ultimately was brought about. And it particularly was this one couple, the impetus to answer your question more precisely was this one couple who was like, look, and it was this couple where he was pastoring a church planner, and the wife was a CPA with a growing firm. And at the time they had 2 kids, they were homeschooling. Now they have 4.
They have 4.
Homeschooling. So you can imagine what that schedule and life and all that is like, what their bandwidth was like.
Right.
And so
they came for us for straight systems. They were like, we need strategy. We need something. So we were like, we told them no, actually, for a good year. We're like, no. And these are our friends, but we're like, I don't want to be held accountable for that. Cause I don't even know, like I can talk about my marriage, but I can't talk about your marriage, But after a while, other couples started coming too. And then finally we told that one first couple, we're like, you know what, we will set some VIP. We did some VIP strategy days with them for several weeks and help them put their whole systems, a strategy for the organization, for the nonprofit, for the church, and what they were doing, and then for her CPA firm, and then things they were doing together, and with the homeschooling and understanding how the day needs to go, like just all the things that require life to happen and keep going. So today, now those systems, that the overarching system is called the MarriedPreneur operating systems. And so that holds everything together with automation and making sure that they're clear on communication, the marriage with the business, just the whole 9 yards. So after that, we thought it was just going to be that one couple. Still, we're like, okay, we're done. And then they started telling their friends, and here we are.
And no longer is the tail wagging the dog.
No longer.
That's beautiful.
That's awesome.
It's funny when you talk about entrepreneurship, I think the most basic definition is find a need, create a solution, fill the need. And a lot of times it's due to adversity, right? So there was some adversity that showed up in your life due to the identity transition, what have you, whatever you want to call it. And then, like you said, that tail started to wag the dog, so to speak. And I love that grassroots. I know this is all the cliches, right? Oh, it happened very organically, and but it's the truth. I mean, that's exactly. I love that story. So from there, I noticed from the podcast and also on your website, there's 3 principles by which, kind of like your tagline, and you call out specifically marriage, marketplace, and ministry.
Mhm.
How does that get woven into marriedpreneur life? And I think that you guys should actually explain to the audience as well. What does that mean, marriedpreneur life? I know there's different types of marriedpreneurs. That's something I really love when you guys explain it in your podcast. And I think people need to know this is so much, there's so much need for this for so many individuals, including us. I'm just kind of tapping her a little bit. And it's apropos because just this morning.
Time out. You're not finna call me out on the podcast like that, okay?
She's like, wait, time out. Time out.
The nice thing is she's backed up from the microphone, so people won't even hear her say that
I
part.
will say it in the mic now. You can on the podcast.
No, and like this upcoming Friday, there's 2 other couples and us that we're doing a clubhouse thing on marriage. Like, can your marriage survive being in business together? And so I think this is a hot topic, particularly because of COVID. I think a lot of families were thrust into a different situation. So I'd love to hear what marriage, marketplace, and ministry mean and how it exists within marriedpreneur life.
Okay. You want to hear that first and then the types
Yes.
of marriedpreneurs? Okay.
Yeah, it is reflective of, in some nuanced ways, our life immediately, but really overall for the couples that we, that that are often drawn to us and that we work with. And so in that sense, it is all things marriage. We don't negate it or sidestep it. So when we talk about marriage, we're talking about doing the things that help the health and the growth of the marriage. We recognize, though, that uniquely within our marriage, married entrepreneurs have a distinctive call within the marketplace. So we're engaged in the marketplace / public square, because we're doing marketplace work in a public square scenario. So we understand that it's important to understand all things commerce. It's important to understand business, but maintaining the priority as the marriage, and then overall distinctly within our own lives and even those others that we've worked with, really is not business for business sake, and it's not marriage merely for marriage sake, but it's really for the glory of God. And so we want to convey that and really make sure that is not suppressed or muted while we're out here doing business and while we're out here lovey-dovey and showing selfies on date night, but we engage really endeavor rather to glorify God in our marriage and in the marketplace. And so we make sure that is the touchstone of what it is that we're doing.
I love that.
That's beautiful, actually. I mean, and I always give Lovey a hard time just because he's Lovey, but I give him a hard time. But what he said was so true when he was like, for us too, because his drive is probably a lot higher than mine is. And kind of Sway, when you were saying you were kind of giving O.L some space, but at the same time, you didn't want to be nagging, like, okay, what are you doing? And I was just like, ooh, I remember when, because Lovey is like that. He's like, okay, what would you do today? So if you didn't do anything, then there will be no results. And I'm like, I want the results, but I kind of just want to sit on the couch, He's like, babe, come on. So I love that, what you just said, O.L, because that's so important, to that foundation. It's marriage, but it's business, and it's, we're all in it together. And just knowing that for other couples that are listening, if you decide that you want to be in business together, now they know that they have somewhere that they can turn to, someone, you all, because you guys are married, number one, to each other, not to different people, but you're married to each other, and you're doing this business thing together, and you're making it work. And now you're showing other people about systems and about, how to stay married and stay loving and still be in the business together. So
And glorify God
great.
in the process.
At the same time, that's number one right there, because I think sometimes we lose that, you know, even as Christians, you know, we don't always have my pastor said, as a Christian, you don't always have 2020 spiritual vision. So I'm like, yeah, I don't all the time. You know, I have to remember first there's God, you know. So that's I love it.
So
And there's
easy.
levels to this, which I think Sway's going to go into.
Yeah. So oftentimes this is what we realize. People kept saying, well, are we marriedpreneurs? Like, what if, you know, just one of us is called to business or doing the business? Or what if we're having different businesses? Or what if we're doing like all these different variations? And then we realize, you know what? There are like three main types of marriedpreneurs that we like to categorize them. Now, there are variations within these categories, but I think this really helps clarify where people are and then identify. They can say, oh, that's me, that's me, that's me. Mm-hmm. So there are three main types of marriedpreneurs. There are the spousalpreneurs. The spousalpreneurs are the married couples where one spouse is working 9 to 5 and the other spouse is operating the business. Usually that's on a full-time basis, but there are a lot of variations within that as well too, because they could both be working full-time, but one is focusing primarily on the business while the other is, you know, supporting. So that's a spousalpreneur. And then there are the indiepreneurs, where in this marriage, both spouses are building individual businesses, building individual businesses. And then the third type are the couplepreneurs. And this is where this particular couple is actually building the business together. Like it's the same business. And like I mentioned earlier, there are variations of these, but you know, these are like the umbrella titles. Now you can actually be a hybrid. Like we are hybrids. We are indiepreneurs and couplepreneurs. Mm-hmm. We started off as spousalpreneurs when he was working in the bank. I've been running my business since the age of 16. So this is all I know is entrepreneurship. So I don't have a corporate background. But you know, we start off as spousalpreneurs and then went straight to indiepreneurs when he started building his business. And then now added on the couplepreneur piece of it. So, but drop the spousalpreneur, right? Because there's no 9 to 5 anymore. So it's just important to know like where you are right now, and then where you desire to be, because sometimes people may be spousalpreneurs, but really want to be indie or couplepreneurs. And then knowing, okay, what are the changes that we need to make? Like, where are we going so we can get clear direction on what that looks like? So I think this part is really powerful so people can identify, like, raise their hand and say, yes, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Okay, that's who we are. We are, and then fill in the blank. So those are the three types of marriedpreneurs.
That's awesome. So, you know, I appreciate your time. So just a few more questions and we'll give you back your day.
Sure. Oh, that's it? I'm
ready
to take notes. I'm like, okay, girl, go ahead. Say it.
We can share. We want to share the, what are they called? Like the red flags?
The cautions, the things to look out for. Yeah. So if you are, so here are the three things that, whether you're couple, indie, or spousal, that you're going to want to watch out for. If you are spousalpreneurs, one of the things to watch out for is the potential. And remember, spousalpreneurs, where one of you is really the principal in the business, and the other may have a 9 to 5. Sometimes the spouse with the 9 to 5, it can be a situation where they don't really know how they fit in to their spouse's world of entrepreneurship. And what happens is they can start to take on what we would call running mates, where one person is top billing in life and the other person is just there. And so you want to be cautious of that, because that person can feel, even though they're close, they can feel distant and detached and disconnected. And that's something to watch out for as spousalpreneurs, because sometimes as the spouse who's the principal of the business, you're so driven that you don't even realize you left your spouse. Even though it may not be physically, maybe you've left them in your, mentally or even emotionally. So that's really, really important, especially if you're going out doing a bunch of training and a bunch of coaching and you're growing and you're around all these other entrepreneurs, different mindset, and you can start to look at your spouse like, and so that's one thing to watch out for. Yeah. If you are indiepreneurs, where the two of you are running separate businesses, the challenge there is not running mates. The challenge is roommates. And it just becomes a thing where if you sit down together at dinner, or if you have a Saturday morning breakfast together, What's happening is that the two of you become roommates, and all you're really doing is sort of splitting the bills in half, and and that can become very mechanical in the marriage. And maybe you swap war stories, but other than that, you're splitting the bills. Who's doing what, and when do you have to do it? Okay, what time is your Zoom? What time is my Zoom meeting? All right. Then if you are couplepreneurs, your challenge is not that of a roommate nature or a running mate nature. It's really more of cellmates, where the business has both of y'all on lockdown. And so everything is the business. Even your date nights are like business meetings 2.0. And so it literally overrides. Whoa, what's happening here? What's happening here? and so really the business has both of you like cellmates. You're just sharing a 6x9 space.
Or larger space.
Or a larger space.
Like a house.
Like a house.
Yeah, you know, I think the judge just said guilty.
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny. I think there's a component of that's we've been married 24 years, and this is one of those things that's formed ahead within our relationship at some point. Whether it was through network marketing in the past, a variety of network marketing companies where I'm running full bore and I'm like, come on, I'm dragging her.
Pulling me by my hair. Let's just say that sometimes.
It's like, come on, meet these people, you know, or whatever, you know, like, and when things weren't happening. Anyway, I was just going to say that there's aspects of each one of those.
I still love you. Okay.
I appreciate that too, babe. But also, you know, I want people to understand, listen, if you're listening right now and you're thinking, well, I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not somebody that runs a business. There is a concept called intrapreneur as well. If you're holding a job, but you have the ability to kind of run your job like a business, think about all of you out there right now that have been affected by COVID, where you were working at home. And I think Sway said something really interesting, where you're on one Zoom and, you know, they're on the other Zoom in different rooms. One's up in the bedroom on a Zoom, you know, doing a conference call. The other one's in the office with the kid playing in the corner or what have you. That's intrapreneurship. And so that when you were talking about indiepreneurs, that exists within your corporate structure as it stands right now. So if any of this resonates with you, I definitely want you to reach out to O.L. and Sway. You know, this is something that there's something to be learned. You know, I think it was Mark. We attribute so much to Mark Twain. I have no idea if he said this or not. But it is said that he stated at one point that every person I meet is my master in some way, and of that I learn. And I think that when we come across couples like O.L. and Sway and some of the other couples that we bring to you, that there's something to be learned. There's something that each and every one of us can take and build and incorporate and weave into our relationships so we can get back to the ministry of God. So we can actually make sure that, like, when we do get that opportunity to stand before God, be like, you know what, you did good. You did good. I'm so glad you listened to O.L. and Sway that one time. And so I think that's beautiful, but I do want to, there's something there for everyone. It's not just if you are an independent business owner or what have you. There's a lot there for each and every one of you.
And it's funny that you even bring up about the Zooms and with the intrapreneur, how you're on a job and you're competing, like whose job is most important? You know, who's going to, well, I got to do this meeting, you take the kid, or no, well, I got this meeting, you take the kid. And so it's like you said, the different levels of how you are able to put those systems into place on your job, for your job. And okay, well, I got dishes this week, or I got this, or you take turns, you know. So I mean, you would not believe how many horror stories I've heard about who's responsible for this or who's responsible for that. And they're fighting about it. And it's like, well, it's not about the responsibility. It's about they're missing systems. So yeah, y'all need to call O.L. and Sway.
Right? I mean, come on. And you're thinking, well, I don't know if because like, okay, so I'm also a disc consultant. And so there's a variety of, you know, there's the D, the I, the S, the C. And there's so many people that are like a D and an I. Like, oh, I know you're a D. You're a D and an I.
I think
because of you like systems, or are you more on the because I know you're a little outspoken as well, but I know that you talk about information is valuable, and a lot of times information comes up underneath the C.
I was going to say,
I think my C is high. It's the high C. Yeah.
I'm a high C too. So I'm like, yeah, I can do that.
But one thing I was going to talk about was how some people say, high D and high, more times than not will sit there and say, oh, I don't need a system. Systems, they limit me. They don't let me be who I want to be. But I will say this, there's an acronym for system, and that's save yourself time, energy, money.
amen.
Yes.
If you want to save yourself time, time that you want to spend with your spouse to make sure that you're capitalizing on that. If you want to save yourself energy, and there's positive energy and there's negative energy, you want to create some positive energy, negate or lessen that negative energy. And we all want to make more money, and we want to use it in the right way. Money can be positive or negative, but if you want to use it in a positive, get yourself a system. And I can't think of a better way that if you were running a business than reaching out to O.L. and Sway, Marriedpreneur Life. Actually, don't let me steal your thunder. How can our audience reach out to you?
Well, on IG.
Yeah, on IG, it's MarriedPreneur Life.
Yes, they can follow us there, or if they want to connect with us directly, they can go to the website. There's contact there. Information in the website is MarriedPreneurLife.com. When there's some free trainings and downloads that we've created as well too, to start people getting them couples served right away.
Beautiful, beautiful. And we're going to put that in our show notes as well. One thing that we do with every one of our couples, Snooks has this particular question she asks everyone.
Okay.
I was gonna say okay, let me talk. Anyway. Okay, so we're married into crazy. And what crazy stands for is compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding. So I always like to ask couples that we interview, out of those, what is the easiest one for you, and what is the hardest one for you? Of being compassionate, of being real, accountable, zealous, or yielding? Easiest and hardest.
The easiest for me is being real. And I would say zealous too. Those are more the easier ones. But compassionate.
Yeah. I mean, to one degree or another, you're all of those.
You're so sweet. You learn how to say all the right things now. But right, good job. The hardest for me, most challenging. Maybe I would say yielding, in the sense of like when I have my targets and my goals, and I mean it in that way. It takes more effort for me to change midstream, or change the target. Not change midstream to get the target, because I'll do that in a minute. But to actually change the target. So you know what? Wait a minute. Maybe this is the wrong target. Maybe it needs to just be this over here first, right? Versus doing that. So just being okay with that and not allowing it to make me feel like I haven't met my target, like I'm giving up on something. So I think that would be the one that requires the most effort for me to really align with, just being more intentional to do that one.
Yeah, I would say for me, this is an interesting question. I think compassionate would be the easiest one for me. But I also think because compassionate would be the easiest one for me, that real would be the most difficult one for me. And it's interesting because I'm even being real saying that.
Wow.
I see that, yeah.
And I think that's probably because sometimes as a man, we kind of have this inner martyr.
And nobody asked for it.
Where we sometimes sacrifice our own feelings.
Nobody asked for that.
Nobody.
Said nobody ever, not here anyway, ever, but here.
See, I'm
gonna stop before we transition to a whole other episode, right?
No, I'm saying I love the realness that we're capturing right now. I love that. That is beautiful. That is beautiful.
Ever.
Well, good. So, hey, look, we want to thank you. Let me just say this. We're going to do something we always do at the end of every podcast, but I'm begging, and I don't ever do this, but I'm begging all of you listeners, I don't care where you're at. We're in 34 different countries, or wherever you are, get on Instagram and follow MarriedPreneur Life. You will be better for it. Not even from a business standpoint, from a good vibe standpoint.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank
When you see them dancing and all that, it's like, it's good. I'm like,
Oh.
I always look at Snooks like, okay, we need to step our IG game up.
Let me even say this. I'm not even on IG. I have it, but I'm not on there. And he's always bringing the phone to me. We're going to do this one. Oh, no, we're going to
You're dancing and you're
that
like,
one. And I was
and
like,
it's
okay,
funny.
babe.
It's funny because we do stuff. She's like, but I don't want the camera up in my face when we're doing stuff. And I'm like, I go, but it's just a reminder. I think it's a great reminder for couples. Have fun in your marriage.
Yeah, have fun. But he always gets me like right after I get out the treadmill or I'm working out. I'm all shiny. He comes in, he's all in his work clothes, and I look like I just cleaned the backyard. And I'm like, why do you always do this? He goes, because we're just being real. I'm like, let's be real when I'm cute. Don't
Right. So what we're going to do at this point, we have a couples I can. And the couples I can has 40 different affirmations in it. And what you're able to do is reach in, grab an affirmation, and there's a focus for each one of the spouses. And you can use it for the week, what have you. It's on the website. I mean, it's less than $10, but it's one of those things that we do because we want to remind everybody that it's not the big things in life that make your marriage, it's the little things.
Right.
The little things done well over and over again is going to give you that longevity.
Okay,
So we're going to go ahead and pull. So I'm going to pull for me and O.L. Snooks is going to pull for Sway and her.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Why'd you say uh-oh?
And I said, I can do the laundry.
Oh, that's not fun.
Well, I do it anyway. So
She, you know what? Even if I pulled that one, she wouldn't let me do the laundry. So. Oh, interesting. It says that I can be a martyr. No.
I'm like, whoa. That's a bit spooky.
Well, it does say I can put my significant other's needs first.
that's not being a martyr. We're about to have a whole nother podcast.
What episode number did you say this was?
Right. This is episode number 137 through 140.
Yeah.
Clearly.
No, but again,
Right.
we want to thank you both. I know you're traveling cross country, for taking the time to schedule, sit down, chat with us. It was a blessing for us today to spend time with you.
It really was.
And you're going to be blessing a lot of couples across the world.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
This has been so much fun.
Yes, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you
All right.
so
And
much.
let's definitely stay in touch.
Definite. Oh, we gonna be in touch about the systems.
All right, y'all. Well, like we always say, until the next time, be blessed.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Married Into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. Please like, subscribe to, and review the show wherever you access it, and tell a friend about us. Visit marriedintocrazy.com and see how Snooks and Lovey can bless your marriage directly.